comes to trains, boy oh boy, there's thundering herds of clubs out there, and magazines and organization for other fan trips and everything. Like this little old push-pull bud train coming up in Lynn, Massachusetts to the station here. I like trains too. Lots of folks like trains, of course. Ooh, stop that little whistle in there. I've been featured in some railroad magazines through the years, and I've got quite an extensive collection of railroad stuff too, so I'm fascinated by them. This old bulldog here, ex-Illinois Central, was rebuilt in Paducah for use on Boston's MBTA system, rail system. That little Jeep you saw before there, that little puppy was on loan from Burlington Northern because she had a steam generator on board and they needed that. But like I say, listen to this bulldog. I love it. I like ships too. I got nothing wrong with ships. They're handsome things. Those little submarines, I like them all. I have quite an extensive collection of stuff in this, and I help these other hobbyists out in this area. Aircraft, oh mercy me. Paul Collins's World Aviation Historical Society is just worth its weight in gold. That's a gorgeous thing. Yeah. I have a major aviation collection. I even tried an aviation magazine, but there's just overkill on this. But it's the main thing to me, of course, is the buses. That's what started it all for me, and that's where my main heart lies. There's no question of that. But these are handsome too. But you see, all of these guys and these other forms of transport, they have plenty available to them. That's why I have to kind of watch out for the people in the International Bus Collectors Club and dig up as many collectibles and make models for them because they can't get them. Well, the thing that helps me out the most, of course, is the fact that, hey, watch these guys go off. They're up in Maine. Incidentally, for those of you in IBC that are aviation lovers, those are the last two operational 106s in the entire U.S. Air Force inventory. Not talking about reserves now, I'm talking about the active Air Force, and even they're gone now. There's a nice thrill to take off and to flying, but there's one thing that the airplanes are going to always fall short on, and that's they can only go from one airport to another. And after you get up there, well, scenery sort of disappears, and you can see the earth all right, but I mean, you can't see what's down there. There's no way under the sun, and if there's a cloud cover below, you don't see nothing but an endless ocean of clouds. But getting from point A to point B, I mean, even I use them. You have to. But when you've got the time and the ability to be able to relax, there's still nothing like the bus. When I'm going somewhere, if I've got the time, I like to see where I'm going. How can you see anything from up here? You can't. This guy's talking about what's below.
Delaware Bay on down the Delmarva Peninsula over the mountains of Chesapeake Bay in Norfolk, Virginia, and then down over North Carolina with the Cape Hatteras National Seashore passing on the left side of the airplane. We'll be leaving the shoreline there.
This is the girl that'll show it to you right at eye level, right here. One of Herman Daughter's 102A3s of Motor Transportation, Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Now, I mean, take for instance, autumn color. How you gonna see that from an airplane? Take a look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? You can't see this from no airplane. Herman Daughter, Lee Daughter, and Laurie Daughter are very dear people to Marilyn and I. They're super nice friends. They've taken good care of us, and they're one of the official godfathers of the Ghost as well. He's got an absolutely super fleet of equipment, magnificently maintained. Herman has people standing in line to buy his buses when he decides that they've completed their life cycle at Motor Transportation. The inner cities, like this Western Flyer from the MBTA going through Central Square and Lynn, the inner cities still got their buses. The buses of today, they have a little character to them. But, well, gotta be honest, they're really pretty boxy animals now, the whole lot of them. There's no really super design with the exception of maybe what's coming out of the Prevost people. Well, this RTS it's got its look. I'm not saying that buses today are ugly, not by a long shot. But, back in the 30s and 40s, that was one of the main selling points here, design of the coach during the Art Deco period. Everybody says, well, my bus is sharper looking than your bus and all that stuff. But, all in all, today's buses, I wouldn't want to be without them. Such as this AM General coming down the street here now. You just cannot compare that to an old ACF Brill City coach. I mean, that is a box. And the RTS is, it does not look like a handsome old white. It is never going to do it either, Today they're more functional. This little flexible again down in Miami Beach, Miami Metro Transit Authority. I like them, but look at this. Oh, my word. Is that not beauty? Look at that thing. That is poetry in motion. Sounds nice, too. How about a nice old Aerocoach 37P? These pictures are all shot down at the New Jersey Bus Rodeo. Of course, if you've got all four Red Archives IBC tapes, you've seen this Jersey Bus Rodeo featured pretty extensively on one of them. And, of course, there's Baby. She doesn't look like that anymore. She's my bus, the 1952 GM 4103, serial 1655, one of the last made. Probably one of the last 8 Art Deco buses ever made. After this, the 04 came out. The 04 had a little character to it, but then they started becoming boxes almost right away. I've got lots of miles in this car. Here's John Barron's Aero Coach down at the New Jersey Transit Bus Rodeo. That happens every September, and if you're in the New York City area, it's quite a take. Now, this is the Europeans. They have a little bit of a class going for them with the Cetras and the Neoplans and whatnot. Although this guy here, this Volvo, of course they've since pulled out of the American market. They left everybody hanging. But this is just a box. That's all it is. You know, really. Let her go by and let you hear her. Since I created Bus Bash in '79, I've gotten a lot of the public interested in buses now. A lot of people have joined IBC because of the Bus Bashes. And all in all, they've taken on a new significance. The movie people come to IBC now pretty regularly to find antique coaches so they can be accurate. They read an article where I scathed them out in print once about how horrible they are when it comes to buses. They want accuracy. But one guy that likes buses is Charlie Kuralt, CBS News. Do you ever know how his program ever got started? Listen to this, his On the Road program.
Remiss if he didn't just briefly analyze this improving economic situation, which is going to mean so much to your industry, and this climate of deregulation that is changing things, and just discuss where we are as a country and where we're going from here. And I sure wish Dan Rather were here to do all that because of course I can't. They never let me cover anything important. I've been in a bus of my own for the last 16 years, covering the church suppers and county fairs beat for CBS. We all have our duties, you know. Mike Wallace and Dan Rather and those guys have theirs, and I have mine. Mine is to be sure that no musical saw player or swimming pig or a fellow who can hold more eggs in his hand than anybody else goes unremarked on national television. And my standing instructions are, if I come upon a real news story out there on the road, to, you know, be sure to call some real reporter to come cover. So I hope you didn't come here this noon hoping to hear about all the great events of the age from me. I have missed them all. Traveling around in our battered old bus, just a couple of weeks ago, we happened by pure coincidence to run into John Glenn, who's on the road this year also, you know. And I got to talking to one of his assistants about how I learned that John Glenn had made that fabulous trip into space in that rickety old Mercury capsule. I told him, and I guess I'll tell you as delicately as I can, I found out about that 3 days late by chancing to read that news in an army latrine in Vinh Duong province, South Vietnam, in a copy of Stars and Stripes, which really had not even been placed there for the purpose of reading. So that's how obscure my career at CBS has been. But as soon as I got in that bus, you know, my life changed. I thought I had found a little niche for myself, just wandering. And people always smile at the bus and come running out of the house to tell us about somebody there in town we ought not to leave without meeting. One day in Fort Myers, Florida, though, we parked the bus I was beginning to feel pretty important, you know. We parked the bus on the street, and a woman came out of her house smiling, and I smiled, and she smiled.
Yeah.
And I opened the door to accept the usual congratulations for all the sweet little stories we do, and she said, "I think I would like a couple of loaves of rye today, please." So we've also been mistaken, you know, for the X-ray van and the bookmobile. But I have comforted myself with the thought that if you do travel around the country in a bus, you know this as well as I do. Going slow, just wandering, you feel something about the country that you might miss if you were going fast by airplane, or in my case, if you were always covering only the big events. Just wandering along, talking to people. CBS doesn't even know where I am, you know, most of the time. They don't care. But I do think there is something in this business of rolling along the highways, and that is one reason I'm so glad to be with you. I feel that in some ways we're in the same line of work. The way On the Road got started, in fact, was in an airplane. Cameraman and I, years ago, back in the early 60s, were flying from one place to another, as we always do, racing from one big story to another. And it was one of those clear nights. We were looking down at the lights on the ground and drinking Scotch whiskey, I believe. And the cameraman said, "You know, look at those lights down there." He said, every one of those lights represents a story. We're always flying over them. And I said, "You bet." And the next morning, it still seemed like a good idea. So that's really how On the Road got started. I talked my many bosses at CBS into letting me go out for 3 months. It was in 1967, and nobody ever said stop. I didn't know it was going to become a career, but it has, and I'm awfully glad.
That was done down at New Orleans. The sound of jazz in New Orleans, of course, is one of the big, strong things, too. Everywhere you go in the city, there's bands are playing.